Shane's birthday landed on a Saturday that smelled like beer and burnt charcoal. The backyard was dressed up like it mattered. String lights sagging between fence posts, a folding table groaning under crock-pots, bags of ice melting into coolers too thin to keep anything cold, plastic forks, red cups, a Bluetooth speaker chirping out old top 40 hits like we were all pretending to be younger than we were. Joan had planned it. Or at least, she had texted out the invites and picked up the sheet cake. The guests were her side. Always her side. Relatives I knew by debt, not name. The brother who needed a short loan, just till the promotion clears. The cousin who crashed with us for a month that stretched into 3. They were nice enough until the second drink. Then the stories came. Then the comparisons. Then the invisible measure between real family and me. But I showed up. I always did. I manned the grill like it was a job interview. Burgers medium, ribs charred just enough to look rustic. Shane didn't help. Not that I expected him to. He floated from group to group like royalty on tour. Too old to be called a kid. Too soft to be called a man. Then it came. Right between bites. Right between laughs. Right when I thought maybe this one, just this one, might pass without a scar. You're just temporary here. Don't act like you're part of the family. Shane said it with a smile. Not loud. Not dramatic. But clear enough that the music seemed to dip beneath it. A few people laughed. Nervously. Uncertain. Like maybe it was a joke. But no one was sure. That's the thing about truth. It wears the same face as humor when it's drunk enough. I waited. Just a second. Enough time for Joan to speak up. For anyone to say something. She didn't. Her eyes fell to her wineglass like the answer might be hiding in the bottom. She didn't laugh. But she didn't speak either. And that silence, that was louder than the insult. I set down the tongs. Wiped my hands on the dish towel. Picked up my beer. Raised it. No scene. No speech. No correction. I nodded once and walked out through the side gate. The sound of laughter returned behind me. Not louder, just resumed. Like I'd never been there at all. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen, lights off, screen glow washing over old statements. Joan came in around midnight, asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, just thinking. She didn't push. She never does when it's inconvenient. At 2:14 a.m. I opened the bank app. At 2:17, the first card declined. Joan's Spotify account. Linked to my old Chase Visa. I disabled it without blinking. The next one was the gas card. Then the grocery delivery service. Amazon Prime. Netflix. The recurring charge for Shane's gym membership, the one he used 3 times. Gone. By dawn, a few of the apps started pinging Joan's phone. Subscription issues. Payment declined. Can you check with the bank? I didn't answer her. I just poured the coffee. Strong, bitter, black. The kind you drink on job sites when no one talks and everyone's tired. By lunch, Shane was calling. Twice. No message. Just his name lighting up my screen and then vanishing. I didn't pick up. I didn't need to. They were feeling it already. Saturday became mine. The grill smoke was gone, the dishes done. Joan had gone out to clear her head. Whatever that meant. I stayed at the kitchen table with a manila folder I hadn't opened in over a year. Receipts, invoices, payment confirmations, the tuition bills. Shane's freshman year when he forgot to apply for financial aid. The fall semester covered by me. So was spring. The deposit for his apartment. The moving truck. The parking pass. The fees they sneak in at the bottom of enrollment screens. Technology access. Library renewal. Student services. Hundreds of dollars in digital dust. I paid every one of them. Then the motorcycle. Used sure but still $7,000. Joan had cried when he asked for it. Not out of fear, out of guilt. He's trying so hard, she said. This could be good for him. Give him a reason to show up to class. To feel proud. So I co-signed the loan. Paid the insurance. Bought him a helmet. He dropped out 6 months later. And then the kicker, the bail money. 2 years ago. DUI. 1 night in jail. $1,623.50. I never told anyone the exact number. But I never forgot it, either. Joan always said, "He's just trying to get back on his feet." But last night proved something. He didn't see me as a father. He didn't even see me as a man. I was a bank with a quiet face. I pulled out a legal pad. Started the list. Line by line. Account names, password resets, services canceled. Felt clean. Like scrubbing a wound. By the end of the day, I had a new folder on my laptop. Separation Financial. I locked it with a passcode Joan didn't know. Inside, I had screenshots, statements, a timeline. If it ever came to lawyers, and I knew now that it might, I'd have a record of every cent I'd shoveled into that boy's life. A boy who stood in a yard full of people I'd fed and said I didn't belong. He was right. I didn't. But I would leave on my terms. Not his. That evening, Joan tried again. She made dinner, pot roast, my favorite. Set the table. Lit a candle. Like it was an apology she couldn't say out loud. "Long day?" she asked. I nodded. We ate in silence. She didn't mention the party. Didn't mention Shane's words. Didn't offer context or defense. I noticed her phone buzz 3 times. She didn't pick it up. But I saw the name flash once. Shane missed call. That night, I went into the guest room. Locked the door. Opened the folder again. There were 2 credit cards I hadn't remembered opening. One under my name. One under a name I didn't recognize, but the address was ours. Joan's maiden name. My stomach turned. I clicked through the transactions. Uber rides. Food delivery. Hotel charges. One listed as emergency medical. But the provider name traced back to an online casino. Structure. Not accident. I began downloading PDFs. Every page. Every charge. This wasn't revenge. This was preparation. Because the boy in that backyard didn't just humiliate me. He declared war. And I don't lose quietly. It started with a name I didn't recognize. M.L. Grayson. Showed up on a soft inquiry report. Buried in a credit alert email I almost deleted. A name that had never lived in our house. Never signed a card at Christmas. Never stood around the table when I carved the turkey. But it used my address. My birthday. My social security number. I logged in to pull the full report. There it was. A store card I'd never opened. Linked to a charge I would have remembered. A 4-figure purchase at a high-end electronics site. Shipping listed to a campus apartment I hadn't heard of. Atlanta Tech Lofts, Unit 3B. I knew the zip code. Shane's. I cross-checked the emails. For failed login attempts from his IP address last month. When I changed the bank passwords. Then another credit line opened 2 years ago. Inactive now under a variation of Joan's maiden name. Same pattern. Same footprint. This wasn't teenage carelessness. This wasn't a one-off. It was scaffolding. A quiet build, 1 brick at a time, around the man who paid for everything and asked for nothing. I called an old friend, Curtis, retired now, used to run fraud investigations for a major lender. I gave him the names, the dates, the soft entries. Asked him what it looked like from the outside. He didn't hesitate. This was structured. Whoever did this didn't just use your info. They knew what they were doing. Using a variant of your wife's name? That's someone close. Someone who knows your house. I didn't ask how long he'd known me. Just thanked him and hung up. That night, I opened a new document. Fraud log. Date, amount, origin, pattern. I added screenshots. Backups. Contact info for the creditors. I didn't call Joan. I didn't confront Shane. This wasn't the moment for screaming. This was the moment for silence. Joan started cooking again. I came home the next night to roast chicken, candles, soft jazz on the Bluetooth speaker she used to love. A table set for 2. Not 3. She had pulled out my favorite plate. The one we got from that trip to Asheville years ago. The one Shane once called Old Man Pottery. It sat there like a peace offering. I ate in silence. She tried small talk. Asked how work was going, if the new guy at the office was settling in. I nodded. Smiled. Bit down on every question boiling up beneath the calm. She didn't ask why I hadn't spoken to Shane since the party. She didn't ask if I'd seen the alerts piling up on her phone, the emails from billing services, the text warnings. She just refilled my glass and said, "We don't eat together enough." I thought about the card in her maiden name, the one that paid for a weekend hotel I never visited. I didn't ask. I just chewed. She didn't push. But she was watching, testing. I let her test. Shane sent a text 2 days later. "You're abandoning us." Not me. Not sorry. Just a passive accusation, thrown like a match into dry brush. I didn't reply. I copied the message into the log. That night, I moved my files from the guest room computer to a new cloud folder. Encrypted. Backed up. Labeled with legal terms no one would open unless forced to. Then I cleared my browser history. Set new admin passwords. Changed two-step verification to a private number Joan didn't know. Every click was a quiet goodbye to the man I used to be. Joan tried again. This time it was a movie. The Big Chill, one of mine. She'd never liked it before. Said it was too slow, too sad. She queued it up, lit a candle, curled into the far corner of the couch like it was 20 years ago. I sat on the other end, watched the screen, said nothing. Halfway through, she paused it. "Mark," she said gently. "You've been so distant." I didn't move. I just looked at her. Not angry, not cold, just still. "Do you want to talk about what's going on?" I let the silence stretch. Let her feel the weight of what I was carrying. Finally, I answered. "Do you?" She blinked. A pause. Her eyes dropped. "I think we're all just under pressure right now." Pressure. That's what they always called it. Not betrayal. Not fraud. Not the siphoning of a man's future through stolen credit and silent complicity. Pressure. She played the movie again. But her smile was gone. So was mine. I started getting the calls a week later. Blocked numbers. Out-of-state area codes. The kind of calls debt collectors use when the money trail runs cold. I answered one. The voice was cautious. Professional. "Mr. Bellamy, we're calling in regard to an account under investigation. It appears you may be the victim of identity misuse. Can we confirm a few details?" I told them I already had. Sent the documents. Told them my lawyer would be in touch. The voice shifted. "Of course, sir. Just so you're aware, this may impact your credit temporarily." I laughed. Temporarily is a generous word. Sunday morning, I took a walk around the neighborhood, something I hadn't done in months. The leaves were turning, burnt orange and blood red. The kind of beauty you miss when you're buried in someone else's problems. I passed the house 3 doors down. The new family was out front. Young couple, 2 small kids chalking rainbows onto the sidewalk. The man looked up, smiled, nodded. That used to be me. Not the chalk, not the kids, the nod. The easy recognition of a man who believes in his own place in the world. Who hasn't been hollowed out by the people he feeds. I nodded back. But I didn't smile. That night I took stock. Every account frozen. Every shared line closed. Every backup filed. I didn't ask questions. I didn't chase apologies. I sat at the dining table with the legal pad. Crossed off items one by one. Bills. Insurance. Retirement accounts. Direct deposit now redirected to a solo bank in my name only. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. Joan came home late. No questions. No shopping bags. Just silence. She saw the folder on the table. The legal pad. The list. She didn't ask. She just walked upstairs. I heard her door close. There's a kind of stillness that comes when you stop bleeding for people who call you invisible. It's not peace. Not yet. But it's clarity. I wasn't detaching to punish them. I was detaching because I finally understood. They were never attached to me. Only to what I gave. Only to what I paid. Only to what they believed they were entitled to by proximity, by accident of marriage, by years spent ignoring the cost of everything they demanded. But that currency had run dry, and the man holding the receipts was done pretending he didn't see the total. Monday morning came without drama. No slammed doors. No accusations. Just the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the sound of Joan upstairs, moving slowly, like someone afraid of making noise in a house that might collapse if she breathed wrong. I left early. Took the truck. Didn't say goodbye. The lawyer's office sat in a low brick building off Peachtree, the kind of place designed to look forgettable. Beige walls, framed degrees, a receptionist who didn't ask why I was there, just handed me a clipboard and a pen like this was routine. Maybe for her it was. For me, it was a line being drawn in ink. I filed for legal separation. Not divorce. Not yet. Separation buys time. Separation builds walls. Separation says, I see what's coming and I'm not standing in the blast radius. My lawyer, mid-50s, calm voice, eyes that didn't flinch, flipped through my documents without comment. Statements, screenshots, credit reports, the fraud log. Finally, he looked up. You did the right thing by not confronting them, he said. People panic when they're caught. Panic makes them sloppy. I nodded. He leaned back. Next step is the firewall. Assets, pension, insurance, anything with shared exposure. By noon, my pension was moved. By 2, my name was off the joint insurance. By 4, a new account existed that only I could touch. No shared passwords. No legacy access. No sentiment. Don't put out the fire while you're still in the house, the lawyer said as I stood to leave. So I didn't. Joan noticed the papers that night. She stood at the kitchen counter holding the envelope like it might explode. Her hands were shaking. Not from anger. From fear. You filed something, she said. Yes. For separation? Her voice cracked on the word. Yes. She swallowed. Why not just talk to me? I looked at her then. Really looked. At the woman who'd watched her son erase me in public. At the woman whose name had quietly floated across fraudulent accounts. At the woman who called it pressure. Because talking is what we've been doing, I said. This is what listening looks like. She didn't argue. She just sat down. The court date came faster than I expected. Fraud accelerates things. Banks don't wait for feelings. Creditors don't care about family dynamics. Shane hired an attorney. Joan did too, though they tried to play it as separate issues. As if the house hadn't been a single ecosystem of silence and entitlement. The courtroom was small, neutral, designed to flatten emotion. Wood benches polished by decades of people who thought their situation was unique. Shane didn't look at me. Joan did. Once. Briefly. Their attorney spoke first. Used words like confusion and financial stress. Painted Shane as overwhelmed. Painted Joan as misinformed. Painted me as abrupt. Cold. Reactionary. Then my lawyer stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't editorialize. He handed over the records. Login timestamps. IP matches. Credit applications. Name variants. The casino transaction labeled as medical. The bail payment. The co-signed loan. The tuition history. Paper doesn't lie. When the judge asked if I'd authorized any of it, I answered clearly. No. One word. No anger. No emphasis. Just truth. The room shifted. Subtly. Like air pressure changing. The judge asked Shane directly if he'd opened any accounts using my information. Silence. Then, I didn't think it was a big deal. That was it. The sentence that ended everything. The judge didn't react. Just nodded and wrote something down. All charges against Mr. Bellamy are dismissed, she said. Then she looked at the other side. Proceed with fraud and identity misuse. Simple. Documented. Final. Joan cried in the hallway. Quietly. Shane didn't. He stared at the wall like it owed him an explanation. Neither spoke to me. I didn't wait around. By the time the sun set, I was back home. My home. Packing. Not in a rush. Just efficiently. Documents first. Clothes second. The rest was just objects. I slept there one last night. Guest room. Door locked. In the morning, I left the key on the counter. No note. Some endings don't need narration. I found the house by accident. Small place near the Carolina coast. With siding faded to silver. Porch that creaked in the right way. Trees bent just enough to let the sun rise in. It was empty when I arrived. Not just of people but of noise. The kind of silence you don't hear so much as feel. Like someone finally hit pause on a life lived too loud. I signed the papers in a bank lobby that smelled like lemon wipes and old carpeting. No cosigner. No second name on the mortgage. Just mine. Clean. When the notary handed over the final page, she smiled. Starting fresh. I nodded. Something like that. That night, I sat on the floor with a cup of black coffee and no furniture. The echo of my own breath sounded like a man finally learning how to inhale. Days took on shape slowly. Sunrise through open windows. Coffee before emails. Walks down the gravel road that led nowhere but didn't need to. I stopped checking the news. Stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't know. Stopped listening for the sound of someone else's door closing behind me. Joan texted once. Just a name and a time. Shane. Arraignment is next Thursday. I don't know what to say. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Because I wasn't spending anything on her anymore. Not even words. A week later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Blue ink. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. She still curled her GS like a girl in middle school. She said she was sorry. Said fear made her do things she didn't recognize. That she hadn't realized how far things had gone. That maybe she should have stood up for me sooner. That maybe she didn't understand what it meant to truly lose something until it stopped showing up every day. I folded the letter once. Slid it into a drawer I rarely opened. Not to save it. Just to keep it from touching the floor. Fall came quick on the coast. Leaves don't change here the way they do up north. Just dull at the edges. Let go when the wind says so. One morning, I watched a bird build a nest in the gutter outside my bedroom. Watched it come and go, twig by twig, feather by feather. It never looked back. Never double-checked. It just built forward. That's what I started doing, too. Shane emailed once. A formal line or two. Said the charges were being negotiated. Said he understood if I didn't want to talk. Said he was getting help. He signed it Shane. Not your son. Not that he ever had. I didn't delete it. But I didn't respond. I wasn't angry at him. Not anymore. Not in the way people think of anger, hot, explosive. That part had burned out months ago. What I felt was colder. Recognition. He was what he was. Not because he'd been mistreated. Not because no one loved him. Because no one had ever told him that love has limits. That support, when treated as a given, curdles into debt. That even the man who paid for your dreams will walk away when you tell him he doesn't belong. The neighbors started to wave. First the woman across the street. Dog leash in one hand, mug in the other. Then the guy who jogged every morning in a neon vest. A slow accumulation of nods, then words, then names. No one asked where I came from. They just accepted that I was here now. That was enough. I hung no photos. Not because I was hiding from the past, but because I didn't need proof anymore. The only face I needed to see in the mirror was mine. The last thing I ever received from Joan was a voicemail, left at 2:13 a.m. in early December. She sounded tired. Not drunk, just worn out. Mark, she said, I just wanted to say thank you. For everything. For the years. For the roof. For the way you tried. I know we failed you. I know it's too late. I wanted you to know I remember. I remember the Christmas you stayed up all night assembling Shane's bike. I remember how you never raised your voice. I remember you sitting with my dad when he was dying, even though he never said thank you. I remember all of it now. A pause. I just wish I'd remembered sooner. Click. I listened once. Then I deleted it. Not out of malice. Because remembering sooner wouldn't have changed a thing. One afternoon, I stood in the garage, small, clean mine, and opened a box I hadn't touched since the move. Inside, a stack of old receipts, tuition payments, loan cosign forms, a faded birthday card with my name misspelled, a photo of Shane at 17, grinning beside a motorcycle he never thanked me for. I stood there a long time. Then I picked up the whole box and threw it away, not to erase the past, but to make room for the man who survived it. Some nights I sit on the porch, drink in hand, listening to the wind cut through the pines. No music, no voices, just the sound of something that doesn't need permission to exist. I don't think about what I lost. I think about what I stopped losing. My time, my peace, my identity. They were never mine while I was giving them to people who thought they were entitled to them. People who thought love was a resource. People who only noticed the floor was disappearing once they hit it. I learned something in that silence. That being called not real was the first honest thing Shane ever said to me. That Joan's silence was louder than any betrayal. That sacrifice without recognition isn't noble. It's self-destruction. And the moment you realize your presence is expected but not valued, that's the moment you walk. Not with a shout, not with a suitcase, but with a password reset and a silent plan. Now, when people ask if I have kids, I tell them the truth. No, I was a stepfather once. And if they ask what happened, I just smile and say, I learned the difference between family and liability. Because love without limits isn't love. It's a leash. And the day someone looks you in the eye and says you're temporary, that's the day you leave. Quietly. For good. So I ask you now, was I wrong? Was I cruel for withdrawing what they took for granted? Or was it the only way left to teach them that love is not a contract? That respect is not optional? That silence is an answer? Would you have stayed? Would you have kept paying the bill just to be called nobody? Tell me, if it were you, what would you have done?